Hi everyone, today we're back for a video on Oxygen Not Included, and today we'll see how to generate power. The first tool you'll have access to generate power in the game is the manual generator, so it doesn't require any research and is available straight in the game, and it's going to require a duplicant to operate it, so a duplicant will need to run in order to generate power. So here I've connected that manual generator to that jumbo battery, and now we see how it works with a duplicant. We now have a duplicant in order to operate this manual generator. So we can see that this duplicant will run on that manual generator in order to produce power. And if we look at the jumbo battery, we can see that little by little it's getting filled up. So we're already at 14 kilojoule, and until it's going to be full, the duplicant will run on that manual generator. So we will see later that when it's full, it's going to stop. We can also see that this manual generator produces 400 watts, and also it produces a little bit of heat, 1000 DTU per second. So the duplicant has almost filled the whole jumbo battery, and there we go. It finished to fill the jumbo battery and it stopped running. We can also notice that these batteries leak a little bit of energy. So we can see that it was at 40 kilojoule, and now it's already at 39.8 and now 39.7 kilojoule. So little by little, these jumbo batteries will leak some energy. Also, this duplicant will go back to that manual generator in order to generate more power. Once that jumbo battery power level is below a certain threshold, and this threshold is defined here in the manual generator, we set it to 50, but it could be more or less. And once it's under that threshold, a duplicant will come back in order to generate more power and fill it until it's full again. Therefore, setting the threshold of the manual generator to 100% wouldn't be very efficient, because that would mean that a duplicant would need to go back to that manual generator in order to run and fill the battery to 100%, since it's below than 100%. So in this case, we have the jumbo battery at 39.1 kilojoule out of 40 kilojoule. And if I set that manual generator to 100%, that means that my duplicant will need to go back to the manual generator to run in order to produce more power, even though it has just stopped doing that. So let's see what it does. And we can see that my duplicant just run back to the manual generator in order to produce that power. And we can see that it's doing this continuously, stopping and starting again. So that's very inefficient. We've just seen that setting that threshold to 100% is not efficient because it's going to waste your duplicant's time, but setting it too low could be dangerous as well, because you could run out of power for your colony. So let's say that the cycle night has just kicked in and all your duplicants go to bed, and you have a very low reserve of power. Then your machine will not be able to consume power when that power runs out, and your duplicants will not wake up during the night in order to generate more power. So you will need to wait that night cycle has finished in order for your duplicant to generate more power. So this is more about a trade-off about this threshold. What is the risk that you are willing to take, and how much of your duplicant's times are you willing to waste? There are other factors to take into account. A duplicant needs oxygen to breathe. So for example, if there is no oxygen around the duplicant, it won't be able to breathe oxygen, and it will need to stop running on this manual generator and stop producing the power. So that would mean that it would need to go somewhere else to gather their breath and get some oxygen and come back and run again. But that would greatly affect their productivity, because they would need to run back and forth for that reason. And another factor to take into account is that they're going to spend quite some time around this setup, around this manual generator. So depending on their moral requirements, they might need a better decor. Otherwise, they're going to be not very happy, and they're going to have a higher stress that you'll have to deal with it if you keep this decor poor. We could also add multiple jumbo batteries and connect them to this manual generator. So in that way, we would have a greater power storage capacity. So that would mean that this threshold would take longer to be reached. So if I have 3 or 4 jumbo batteries, it would take longer for these batteries to lose power in order to reach that 50% threshold. If it's another threshold that would be the same, that wouldn't matter. So that would help in that manner to have more batteries. But these batteries they produce heat. So we can see that they produce 1.25 kDTU per second. So one more time, that would mean that you would have more heat to deal with if you had more batteries. So it is a trade-off between having more heat or wasting more times of your duplicant. One last thing, your duplicants need to have the operating task available in order to use this manual generator. So here when I go to priorities, it's this operating task that will be required to your duplicants in order to operate that manual generator. This manual generator also improves some of your duplicant skills. It improves their machinery and their athletic skills. So the more they run on these manual generators, the better their athletic and machinery skills will be. To sum up, these manual generators are not the best tool to generate power because you will need your duplicants times, and while you use your duplicants times, they can't perform other tasks. But this is the first tool you have available in order to generate power. So you will need to use them at the beginning of the game until you can research more advanced technology in order to not have to use your duplicants time to produce power. The next machine we're going to see is the wood burner. The wood burner will take lumber and it will use it in order to produce power. So here I have lumbers on the floor and I have a duplicant that will deliver this lumber to our wood burner. So we'll see how that goes. And we can see that the duplicant has delivered the lumber to the wood burner and it has it starts to generate power. So we can see that now the smart battery has filled to 5.7 kilojoule. If we look at the wood burner productions, we can see that it produces 300 watts. So compared to the previous machine which was the manual generator, it produced 400 watts. So the wood burner produces 100 watts less than the manual generator, and also it produces quite a bit of heat, because if we look at how much heat it produces, we can see that it produces 9 kDTU per second of heat, which is quite a bit of heat. And we can also see that it produces 170 grams per second of carbon dioxide. So that's also something that you have to deal with the carbon dioxide, because your duplicants can't breathe in that gas. It also has a very low storage capacity for the lumber. So it can only hold 360 kilograms of lumber, which means that it can only generate 90 kilojoule of energy with that amount of lumber. So as a consequence, that means that if you don't have automation put in place, your duplicants will need to come back to that wood burner quite often in order to refill it with lumber, and therefore it's going to consume your duplicants time, and while they're doing this, they won't be able to perform other tasks. Overall, the wood burner is not very efficient and it's probably not the best tool, the best machine to produce energy, but it requires lumber in order to function. So it depends on the resources that you have. If you have only lumber in order to produce energy, it could be useful, but otherwise there are probably better machines, better tools in order to produce electricity, to produce power. We'll now see the coal generator, and the coal generator allows us to use coal in order to produce electricity. So the coal will need to be delivered to the coal generator in order to produce electricity, in order to function. So we now have a duplicant and we have coal here on the floor. So the duplicant will take the coal that is left on the floor and will deliver it to the coal generator, and we see what happens. So the coal has been delivered to the coal generator, and we can see that instantly it generates power and the jumbo batteries is getting charged. The jumbo battery is now full, but we can see that the coal generator doesn't stop working and is still going to require coal in order to function. We can see that the duplicant is still depositing coal into that coal generator, so it's going to waste a lot of resources, a lot of coal. So in order to solve that problem, we will need to use a different battery. I've replaced the jumbo battery with the smart battery, and I've also added an automation wire to connect it to the coal generator, and we can see that it's sending a red signal to that coal generator. So this coal generator is not working anymore, and we can also see that the duplicant is not delivering any coal to that coal generator anymore. We can see that the bar here is not increasing. If we now take a closer look at the coal generator productions, we can see that it produces 600 watt of power, so that's already more than the two previous options that we've seen so far. And it also produces 9 kDTU per second of heat, so that's quite a bit of heat, so that's something to be careful. And it also produces 20 grams per second of carbon dioxide, so that carbon dioxide will tend to go down, so it can be interesting to put this coal generator at the bottom of the map or at the bottom of the base in order to help with that issue, because if you put it at the top of your base, for example, your carbon dioxide is going to go down through your base, and your duplicant will have to suffer with it because they're not able to breathe carbon dioxide. This coal generator can also store 600 kilograms of coal, which is enough to produce energy for 9 jumbo batteries. So it doesn't require too much of your duplicant's time. I mean, they don't need to come back to this generator too often in order to refill it. So that means that they will waste less time than the previous options, but still it will require your duplicant's time, and during that time they can perform other tasks. Now you might be wondering, how can you get code? Well, you can have code with these tiled on the map, so you can find code on the map and your duplicants can dig it, or you can use hatches, so you can find them and you can launch them, and you will need to provide them with a diet that you can see here, and they will produce coal. So this is the two easiest way to have coal. So that one, of course, you have a limited amount of resources on the map, so you won't have an infinite amount of coal on the map, but you can launch hatches in order to have an infinite amount of coal, basically. So overall, the coal generator is a good option in early game to produce power. It doesn't require too much research. It requires research, but it's fairly easy to get it, and it's going to provide a fair amount of power without too much time from your duplicants. However, it needs to be you need to be cautious, because this coal generator will produce quite a lot of heat and they will produce carbon dioxide, so you will have to deal with that, and if you don't place them very well in your colony, they could cause some issues to your colony. But this is a good overall, this is a good option for the early game. We've seen earlier that these coal generators needed coal in order to function, and that we needed a duplicant to deliver that coal. But there is another way to get around it. We can simply have storage bins here that are filled with coal, so duplicants will still need to bring the coal eventually to that storage bin, but these autosweepers will be able to take the coal from this storage bin and deliver them to this coal generator. That way you won't need to have duplicants coming every now and then in order to deliver the coal to this coal generator, and they can function on their own without any intervention from your duplicants. If you don't want to have the coal still delivered to these storage bins, you can set up a conveyor system that will bring the coal here, and this autosweeper will take care to put this coal into this storage bin. So obviously, in order to function, this autosweeper needs to have all these elements in range, so these coal generators as well as these storage bins, in order to be able to deliver all the resources. I've also connected these coal generators to these smart batteries with heavy watt wire. So these coal generators will produce power and they will fill up little by little these smart batteries. And we can also see that I have connected these smart batteries to this coal generator with automation wire. So now that they are not full, they are almost empty. We can see that they're sending a green signal to this coal generator, so that means that these coal generators can function, they are enabled, and therefore they can consume coal in order to produce energy. We can also notice that I didn't have to connect all these automation wire together in order to output a green signal when all these batteries are full, and that's because all these smart batteries are connected to the same power network. So what that means is that these smart batteries are going to get filled up at the same rate, all of them, and therefore they're all going to be full at the same time. So we can just see this in action. So I'm going to unpause the game, and we can see that all these smart batteries are getting filled up little by little, and they're all more or less at the same power storage. So when they get full, we can see that they're all going to get full more or less at the same time, and therefore they're all going to send a red signal more or less at the same time. So yeah, it just happened. We can see that all send a red signal more or less at the same time, and that's because they're all connected to the same power network, even though they're not all connected to the same automation network. We could imagine that I build that smart batteries after the others, and therefore that it would be empty where all the other ones are full, so we can just simulate that now. So I just remove the previous one, and I'm creating a new one. So I've just built the new smart batteries, and we can see that now it's sending a green signal even though that one is full. And that's because even though that one would send a red signal, that one is sending a green signal, and then it's overwriting the red signal, and it does activate the cold generator. So this cold generator is going to work until that smart battery is completely full, and the other two are going to be deactivated. But it's not a big problem that not all your cold generators are not working, given that you still have power in order to use your different machines in your colony. So what I was trying to show here is that you don't need AND or OR gates in order to achieve that result. You can simply use a wire that way. As long as your smart batteries are all connected to the same power network, they will activate and deactivate your cold generator at the same time. You don't need to use complex automation automation elements in order to make it work. You can just simply use automation wire, and it will work just fine. The next machine that we're going to see is the hydrogen generator. So the hydrogen generator is going to consume hydrogen in order to produce power. So here I have a DEF pump gas on the left that is going to give hydrogen, and this hydrogen generator is going to consume it and is going to produce power that is going to be stored in this small battery. I've connected this hydrogen generator with this small battery with a wire here, and we can see that the hydrogen is coming from the DEF pump gas here. So if I unpause the game, we can see that it's being consumed by the hydrogen generator, and little by little the smart battery is getting filled up. We'll now take a closer look at the hydrogen generator's production, and we can see that it produces 800 watt of power and 4k DTU per second of heat. So it's producing more power already than the coal generator, and it's also producing less heat, so that already looks like a better option than the coal generator. So you might be wondering, how can you get hydrogen on the map? Well, there are two options that seems quite obvious. The first one is the electrolyzer. So this electrolyzer is going to produce oxygen and hydrogen. So you can have a little bit of hydrogen using the electrolyzer. The ratio is greatly in favor of the oxygen, but it produces a little bit of hydrogen as well. The second option that you have in order to get hydrogen on the map is by finding one of these hydrogen vents. So there might not be one, but there might be one or few of them on the map, and these hydrogen vents, they will produce hydrogen. So you can then use a gas pump in that room in order to absorb that hydrogen and reinject it in your hydrogen generator in order to produce power. The downside with this hydrogen vent is that they produce hydrogen, but they are active for a certain period of time, and then they become inactive for another period of time. So for example, they will be active for 50 cycles, and then they will become inactive for 25 cycles. So that means that you will need to plan ahead, you will need to anticipate, because if you consume all the hydrogen that it's producing for 50 cycles, then for 25 cycles you will be left without any hydrogen, and therefore you will run out of power. So you need to plan ahead and store your hydrogen, or have other source of power that will help you to mitigate that issue, but that's something to be aware of. To sum up, this hydrogen generator is a good option early game because they produce little heat compared to the coal generator, and they require very little time from your duplicates. It will require times to set up, of course, that system, but when it's been set up, it doesn't require any interventions from your duplicates. They don't need to bring any resources or anything. It just needs to get the gas from somewhere, and this gas needs to be injected in that generator. But this is not the resource that needs to be delivered by one of your duplicates. These hydrogen generators have also another advantage, is that they produce more power than the coal generator. They produce 800 watt, where the coal generator only produces 600 watt. So another thing to mention is that usually these generators, as we've already seen, they will produce quite a bit of heat. So in order to mitigate that issue, we can use this insulated tile, so it will keep the heat inside that room rather than letting it spread everywhere in your colony. So it's important to use these insulated tiles if you don't want to have the heat spreading all over your colony and then causing issues in your colony.